We are back outdoors, ladies and gentlemen. I put the GoPro at the rock bench, and here we are. It is a sunny day, more cloudy than it was yesterday, though. And here is the second IRL video for the day. And I was going to where I am. I am going to title this video, I do not want you to feel like a failure. Because at one point, I felt like a failure. Is that even getting me on the frame or not? Let me see. I gotta check. Yeah. I'm such an idiot. Anyways. Back to the topic. All right. Let me sit down. So, yeah. There used to be a long period of my life, long time ago, that I felt like nothing. And I very much felt like a failure. And there were many reasons behind that mind state or emotional mind state. Number one, for a very large portion of my life, I did a lot of drugs. And I became stuck. And while my peers, my fellow classmates, were all graduating from college and finding jobs and becoming more independent, I was just doing a lot of drugs and wasting time. And one of the terrible things that social media can do is you fall into comparison trap. So you're looking, if you have Instagram, for example, you're looking at your classmate, one of the very many there are, or could be, and he's graduating college. Or he's at a bar with a lot of his work colleagues. And I couldn't have any of that because, for one, I never finished college. And I was doing a lot of drugs. And I didn't allow myself to be in these opportunities because I was making and taking the worst decisions. And that's nobody else's fault except mine. And because of that, and also being incredibly addicted to World of Warcraft for many years, my life kind of froze. And unfortunately, when you get depressed and when your life freezes like mine did, the world doesn't stop moving. The world continues to orbit around the sun 365 days a year. And everybody is moving on and everybody is continuing to follow the rhythm of the beat. Life's rhythm and life's beat. And I stayed behind. And I had a very, very late start. I probably started really trying at life when I was like 33, 2 years ago. And imagine that, starting late, in comparison to my other peers who had a very, very early start. naturally one feels like a failure. And social media, the way we engage with social media, we trap ourselves involuntarily into thinking terrible things. And that's why I'm making this YouTube video. Because I don't want you to feel like that. I don't want you to feel like a failure. And I don't want you to feel like me when I was a failure. Because when you are there, days are very gloomy. Life or living is very meaningless. And everything feels like it lacks purpose. Everything, even breathing or showering or eating, basic things, they start lacking meaning and color. Your entire world becomes black and white. And when you are feeling like that for so long, when it's months and years we're talking about, you then start to have very twisted thoughts, and the decisions that you start taking can literally jeopardize the very breath you are taking. So I don't want you to feel miserable. I don't want you to be depressed. I want you to be happy. And I can even recognize that there might be even worse case scenarios than me. Because I know that there are people who start even later at life, during their 40s or 50s or 60s. Maybe there is an addiction story worse than mine, or a depression or a trauma, or yeah. And you can't really give up on yourself, because you're not the person who ultimately decides when or when not you start winning. I think there is a higher power. And everybody has this window of time, regardless of how old you are or how old you can be. You have this very window of time that you can savor, and your life can change and pivot 180 degrees. Now, you won't get there by miracle or luck alone. I don't think God, or I don't think the architect responsible for weaving the threads of destiny and the universe, I don't think God or the architect reward people who have done nothing. I think that when you achieve that plateau, it's because you have decided to change. And you have decided to do something about that failure. And now you've started to look at things differently or act differently. At what point you get tired of being tired, you know? You get tired of feeling like a failure. For example, what happened to me in my case, one day I took a good look at myself in the mirror, and I was way more overweight. My skin was almost like yellowish. I had tar in my fingers from smoking too much. I was probably 3 years deep in this depression, and I was like, nah, man, I don't want I don't want to fucking be here anymore. This is just fucking ridiculous. I'm not alive to feel like this. And shortly after, life started to be very different for me. And it's funny how everything kind of like pieces itself. Because God and the universe, they are incredibly good things and beings. And maybe you are not necessarily rewarded when you want to be rewarded. But believe me, if you practice discipline and you're consistent, one day, man, you will savor that. You will savor the fruit of your hard work. And again, being a failure or feeling like a failure only has to be a part of your story. It doesn't have to be something permanent. And I don't know what's going on in your life. And hopefully you're not going through something traumatic or sad or tragic. But if you are feeling like that, then at the very least, I want you to remember that there is hope. And if you want to, life can be good at one point. And maybe your story right now is at a very pivotal moment, or it's at a bad point. But if you are willing to see that there is light in front of you, then from that darkness, you can become light too. And you're not alone. There is somebody out there. You don't know that person. Maybe you don't know that person right now, but there is somebody out there who will help you see that light. And if I can also give you some lasting words of comfort, is that, yeah, there is a moment throughout the day called the night. And it gets really dark. It also can get really cold. But right when just the night is at its darkest, right after you have dawn. So don't feel like a failure. And remember, you can do anything.